Am I audible to all of you? Okay. Just a minute. Let me share my today's presentation slide. So we are continuing this class from the last class. So in the last class, we already discussed the unicasting and the multicasting features. And in today's class, we are going to start with the broadcasting. So as the name suggests, the broadcasting is a transmission type in which the data traffic flows from a single source to all the devices on the network. It means only one sender is there, and that sender will send the message to all the recipients. So it sends the information to every device at once. So broadcasting transfer one to all technique can be classified in two types. So basically broadcasting are of two types. First is the limited broadcasting and the second is direct broadcasting. So let us discuss this in these two types of broadcasting in detail. So moving to the next slide. Now the first one is limited broadcasting. So here is a situation in which limited broadcasting uh, is going to find its application. So suppose the sender have to send a stream of packets to all the devices over the network that it resides. So this broadcasting comes handy. So for this to achieve, it will append. So we need to append this. It means that this is the form in which we are going to represent the IP address. So here each this is the 30 IP address is of 32 bit, and this is the 4 octet, and each one represent the 8 bits. So that is how here as you can see here, this is the first one, the second, the third and fourth. So each one is consist of 8 bits. So overall it will be of 32 bits. So just a minute, some other participants are waiting. So it will append 255.255.255.255. So all the 32 bits of IP address set to 1. It means that. So only the computer uh, will remember the 0 and 1. So it means that if the IP address consists of all the octets consist of 255, it means that all the 32 bits of the IP address set to 1. So in this IP address, all uh, all bits are set to 1 and no 0 will be there. So this type of broadcasting is called as the limited broadcasting, and this address is called as the limited broadcast address in the destination address of the datagram packet header, which is reserved for information transfer to all the recipients from a single client over the network. So as you can see from the diagram, so a single sender is there at the middle, and this sender will send the message to all the recipients at once. So this type of broadcasting is known as the limited broadcasting. Now moving to the next type of broadcasting. The next type of broadcasting is direct broadcasting. So this type of broadcasting is useful when a device in one network wants to transfer packet stream to all the devices over the other network. So it means that there must be two or more than two networks will be there. So this is achieved by translating all the host ID parts bits of the destination address to one. So this type of broadcasting is referred as the direct broadcast address in the datagram header of for information transfer. So actually, this is the major part of the IP addressing, and this addressing we will be going to discuss in the unit 4. So you need to remember that in the unit 4, the terms broadcasting and multicasting will be there. So in the last 24 bits of the destination address, we need to write this 255.255.255 is used as the suffix for direct broadcast. So as you can see in the diagram that there is a network 1 and there is the network B is there. In the network a sender is there and it wants to send its message to all the recipients of the network B. So in this condition, the direct broadcasting comes into picture and not the limited broadcasting. So these are the two types of broadcasting we are using in the IP addressing. So all of you understand it till now, just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. Now let us discuss the advantage and disadvantage of broadcasting. So as the first advantage, messages will be delivered to all the nodes were broadcast domain at the same time. The second advantage is it is efficient for the situation where we want to share the messages with all other nodes. So this is in contrast with the multicasting. In the case of multicasting, the sender wants to send the message to the limited person within the group. Whereas in the broadcasting, the sender wants to send the message to all the nodes who are on the recipient side. The third advantage is it is simple to implement. But there are certain disadvantages also. So the first disadvantage is it cannot be implemented using IPv6 addressing. So there are two popular addressing which we are using in the case of IP addressing. One is the IPv4 addressing and the second is the IPv6 addressing. So we will discuss it in detail when we are going to study the unit 4. The second disadvantage is in most of the cases there is unnecessary traffic in the communication channel. So these are the two disadvantages of the broadcasting. So moving to the next slide. Now there are certain points by which we can compare the unicast, multicast, and the broadcast feature. So the first, according to first comparison, in the case of unicast, it has only one sender and one receiver. Whereas in the case of multicast, it has one or multiple senders and multiple receivers. Whereas in the case of broadcast, it has one sender and multiple receivers. The second point of comparison is in the case of unicast, it sends data from one device to single device. Whereas in the case of multicast, data can be sent from one device to multiple devices. Whereas in the case of broadcast, data can be sent from one device to all the other devices in the network. In the case of broadcast, all devices of the network uh, will be given the data at the receiver side. The third point of comparison is in the case of unicast, it works on single node topology, whereas in the case of multicast, it works on star, mesh, tree, and hybrid topology. We already discussed the topology in the first class, so you need to go through the topology part as well. That in the case of broadcast, it works on the star and bus topologies. The fourth point of difference is in the case of unicast, two devices are connected to each other with with a single cable, whereas in the case of multicast, the switch is an example of multicast devices. Whereas in the case of broadcast, hub is an example of broadcast devices. So these are basically the networking devices, and these devices we are going to discuss when we are going to study the unit 5 of uh, uh, your computer network syllabus. So these are the four major points of comparison between the unicast, multicast, and the broadcast. So all of you understand it? Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed to the next topic. Amisha, Jaya, Vikas. Okay. So that's it for the topic unicast, multicast, and broadcast. Now we are going to discuss the next topic. So just a minute, let me share my other presentation slide. So as you can see on your screen, our next topic is domain name system, which is abbreviated as DNS. So it is very important topic. So let us discuss it further. So DNS is a short form for domain name system or domain name service. So in book or in internet, you can find both these terms related to the DNS. It can be written as domain name system or it can be written as domain name service. So the next point is it is an application layer protocol. The third point is DNS is an internet service that translates domain names into IP addresses. So in the case of DNS, we can translate the domain names into IP addresses. For example, when you are uh, like to open the website Doodle, then you can write the name doodle.com. So it is the name which which is considered as a domain name, and the DNS will convert this name into the IP address for opening that site. Then the fourth point is the DNS has a distributed database that resides on multiple machines on the internet. The fifth point is DNS has some protocols that allows the clients and servers to communicate with each other. So these are the important points related to the DNS, means domain name system. So moving to the next slide. So now comes the question, what is the purpose of DNS? So DNS is a host name to IP address translation service. So it means that, as you can see in the diagram, we type the whenever we are opening any site, we type the host name of that site, and the DNS will convert this host name to the IP address of that site. So that's why the DNS is very much important. It converts the name we type in our web browser address bar to the IP address of the web server hosting those sites. So that is the whole purpose of the DNS. So all of you understand it? Just write in the chat box. Whatever site we are going to open, we need to type the name of that site on our web browser, and with the use of internet, it translates that name into the IP address of that site. So moving to the next slide. Then the need for DNS. So the first need is, as IP addresses are not static and may change dynamically. So a mapping is required which maps the domain names to the IP addresses of their web servers. So DNS will do the mapping which is required to map the domain names to the IP addresses, and this is there because IP addresses are not static. The second point of DNS is IP addresses are a complex series of numbers, so it is very difficult to remember IP addresses directly, while it is easy to remember names. So as all of us know that our college is also having its own website, and on opening this for opening our college website, we are writing the name of our college, like MLB Tech, but not the IP address. So because IP address are very difficult to remember, whereas the name are very easy to remember. So that's why the importance and the need for DNS is there. So these are the two important points which related to the need for DNS. So all of you understand it till now? Just write in the chat box so that we can proceed further. Okay. Now moving to the next slide. Now there are certain characteristics of DNS. The first one is DNS uses UDP, port number 53 at the transport layer. So basically it is the UDP protocol. And UDP protocols are basically the connectionless protocol. So the second characteristics of DNS is related to the connectionless protocol. So DNS is a connectionless protocol. You need to remember DNS uses the port number 53. The third point is DNS is non-persistent. So we categorize the protocols in the two categories. One is the persistent and the other is the non-persistent. So DNS comes under the non-persistent category. The fourth point is DNS is a stateless protocol. So we also categorize the protocols into the stateful and the stateless protocol. So DNS comes under the stateless protocol because we cannot remember the states of the DNS. The fifth point is mapping an IP address onto a domain name is referred to as inverse domain. So DNS also supports the inverse domain. When we are mapping the IP address into the domain name, it is just the reverse uh, we are using the DNS. We can also do the reverse one. Uh, in the DNS, we are mapping the domain name to the IP address. When we are mapping the IP address to the domain name, then it is called the inverse domain. So these are the important characteristics related to the DNS. So moving to the next slide. Now there is the term known as the name space. So DNS works on this name space. So the names assigned to the machines must be carefully selected from a namespace with complete control over the binding between the names and the IP addresses. So there are basically two types of name spaces. One is the flat namespace and the other is the hierarchical namespace. So let us discuss each one of them in detail. The first is flat namespace. So in a flat namespace, a name is a sequence of characters without any structure. So here no structure is provided and we are simply writing the sequence of characters. The second point is a name in this space is assigned to an address. So we are assigning a name to the address. The names were convenient and short. A flat namespace cannot be used in a large system such as an internet because it must be centrally controlled to avoid ambiguity and duplication. So as these namespaces are not centrally controlled, that's why we are not using the flat namespace when we are using the internet. So this is the basic one, the flat namespace. So now we are discussing the hierarchical namespace, which we are going to use in the internet website names. So in hierarchical namespace, each name consists of several parts. So the first part defines the nature of the organization. The second part defines the name of the organization. The third part defines the department of the organization and so on. So as we are writing the name, like username at the rate, then the service provider name .com or .gov, then these are the certain parts of that name. So the in the case of hierarchical namespace, the first part defines the nature, the second part defines the name of the organization, the third part defines the department of the organization, and so on. How many parts has been uh, divided for that name, each and every part will specify the or will define the certain category or certain characteristics of the organization. So in hierarchical namespace, the authority to assign and control the namespaces can be decentralized. So here also we cannot uh, the authority cannot be centralized. It can be done by the decentralized authority. So authority for names in each partition is passed to each designated agent. So these type of hierarchical namespace we are using, and these are very much used in comparison to the flat name spaces. So moving to the next slide. So how we are using the DNS in the internet. So DNS is a protocol that can be used in the distributed platform. So domain name space is divided into different sections in the internet. So as you can see in the diagram that there is the root is there, and the DNS can be divided into these forms. The first is the generic domain. So as you can see here, the generic domain is there. Then the country domain. So country domain and the inverse domain. So these are the inverse domain. So basically the domain name space is divided into different section in these three different sections in the internet. One is the generic domain, second is the country domain, and third is the inverse domain. So let us discuss these domains one by one in detail in the next slide. So first we are going to discuss the generic domains. So it defines the registered host according to their generic behavior. So just remember it. It defines the host registered in the on the internet with according to their generic behavior. So we are categorizing the host according to their generic behavior. So each node in a tree defines the domain name, which is an index to the DNS database. So DNS also store the database in it. So it uses three character labels, and these labels describe the organization type. So let's discuss in the next slide how the organization will be categorized with the three different character labels. So as you can see in your screen that there are two columns. There are two columns. One is the label and other is the description. So as you can see here, uh, in the case of airline and aerospace company, the last one will be represented with arrow. In the case of business or the firms, we can write with .biz. In the case of commercial organization, we are writing the last one with .com. In the case of educational institution, we are writing the .edu. Whereas in the case of government institution, we are writing the .gov. In the case of information service provider, we are writing the .info. In the case of network support centers, we are writing the .net. In the case of non-profit organization, we are writing the .org. So in the case of military groups, we are writing the .mil. So these are very popular domain names, and we are categorizing these domain names according to the generic behavior of these organizations. So so these are categorized according to the generic domains. So moving to the next slide. So that's how the generic domain will be categorized. So this is the root level, and now the root level will be distributed into the different types of generics like .com, then the .edu, .gov, int, .net, .org. So these this is just the root will distribute into these organization according to the generic domain, and we can further divided into the other ones like the edu. As an example given in this diagram, the edu will further divided into this, like here it is written as in the second level it is written in FHDA. In the next lower level it is written as ATG. In the next level it is written as CHAL. So when we are writing the name, we are doing the reverse order. So we are writing it first, then it is we are writing it second, then we are writing it third, and we are writing this is at the fourth. So that's how the name will be, or we are going to open this site using this name, and this is done with the generic domain. So all of you understand it, how we are using the generic domain for for the DNS. Okay, now moving to the next slide. The next categorization is country domain. So country domain uses two character country abbreviations. So second labels can be more specific national designations. For example, like for India is having country domain .in. In the same way, Australia is having its country domain .eu. United Kingdom is having its country domain .uk. So here we are using the two characters to represent the country abbreviations. In the case of generic domain, we are using the three characters, whereas in the country domain, we are using the two characters. So let us discuss how we are going to use the country domains in the next slide. So as you can see on your screen that a root level is there, and there are certain countries abbreviation is there like .ar, .uk, .fg. Then as an example, .uk is further categorized into uh, like in the lower levels AC, then in the further lower level PU, and in the further lower level flag. So when we are writing the name of the address, then we are writing it in the reverse order, like this. Like we are writing flat.pu.ac, and at the last we are writing the .uk in order to show that this site belongs to the United Kingdom. So that's why this type of domain is represent the country domain. So all of you understand it? How the DNS will use the country domains. The last two characters represent the country. Okay. So moving to the next slide. The next topic is the inverse domain. So inverse domain is used to map an address to the name. So here we are doing the reverse process. In the basic DNS, we are basically translate the name into the address, but here in the case of inverse domain, we are mapping the address to a name. So for example, a client send a request to the server for performing a particular task. Then server finds a list of authorized clients. The list contain only IP addresses of the client. Then the server sends a query to the DNS server to map an address to the name to determine if the client is on the authorized list or not. So here in the case of inverse domain, by seeing the address, we are just finding who is the originator of that address. So here we are finding the name of the client. So this query is called as the inverse query. So this query is handled by first level node called ARPA. So ARPA is basically the first level uh, through which the internet has been derived. So it is the project which has been started by the which has been started in the USA long back before the invention of the internet. So let us see the inverse domain in the latest slide. So as you can see on your screen, that in the case of inverse domain, there is a root level is there, and here we are finding it the name through the address. So here, as you can see here, we have the, let's say, in 6 levels, like this is the ARPA. It is in the level 1, then the level 2 in adder, then the 134, 43, 54, and 211. So this has been translated. So index to name. So here we need to translate it according to the reverse one. So 211. So last one will be come first and then the last one. So by doing this, we can translate the address which is in the form of the IP address to the name. So so this is called the inverse domain, and DNS is also used for doing the inverse domain. So all of you understand it? Just write in the chat box. Okay. So that's it for today's class. So DNS will end here. So thank you very much for attending this class. So all the previous video lectures are already available on the college YouTube channel. You can go through the previous video lectures. So thank you very much for attending today's class. Now you can leave this meeting.